Okay, so I'm going to show you today a couple of different ways to rig up an abseil for group use. So it's going to be releasable. I'm going to show you the standard one that people use, and then I'll show you a slight change on that, and I'll explain why I prefer the second one. So we've got 3 ropes here. We've got this one that I'm going to use as a rigging rope. We've got this one, which is a low stretch rope that we do the abseiling on, and we've got this one that would be used as a safety rope. So we'll start off, and we've talked a lot about anchor selection, so I won't talk about that again, but we're choosing good solid anchors. With the end of the rope here, you can either use a sling, or I'm going to tie this on here. I'll just use a bowline. You could use a sling and a crab, but it doesn't really matter. It's sort of often simpler using a bowline. You can see this is a stiff rope, it's low stretch. And so it's quite hard to get knots into. There we go. Okay, so there's a bowline. You could use a re-threaded figure of 8. And it's in there. So there's one end attached, and then the other end we're going to put on this post over here. This will be our other anchor. Use a sling for this one. Could have used a sling on the other one, doesn't really matter. I'm going to take it with a turn just to stop it falling down. My demo. There we go. Okay, put the rope in there, and then we're going to have a running loop coming forward here. So, and then what we do, so this is super simple. This method is very simple, very quick, very easy. We just get one length, one another. Just make sure you got that piece in as part of the thing, and then all we tie is a big overhand knot. It could be a figure of 8, but an overhand knot will do just fine. And then we can pull that all nice and tight and just make it look tidy, and that's it. And then all we do now is we're going to put our abseil rope onto one part of here. Obviously, if you're doing this near to an edge, you'd have a cow's tail on and be clipped in. I'm just practicing in the garden. So, and then what we would do is put one of us, so one loop is for us, and the other loop is for the abseil rope. So the abseil rope can go on there. When you're doing the abseil rope, just make sure, obviously, that the end's down on the floor, so you throw it off. It's always worth sorting the rope out when you're going to throw it off. Make sure there's no twists and tangles in it. Just make sure it's going to go down nice and clean. There we go. And then put a few small wraps like that, and then some bigger ones, and then you can throw it off down the crag there. And then it's ideal if the end of the rope is just off the floor. So if I was rigging this here at the bottom, I would like it to hang just about like that, just hanging just off the floor. That lets all the twists fall out, and it means you haven't got lots of spare rope where the clients will all stand on it. So there we go. So that's ideal if you can do that. in order to get that just that right height, nearly always you need somebody helping you at the bottom just to tell you if you've got it right. I'm going to put an Italian hitch in here into this big gate crab, and that'll sit just like that. Do the crab up and then just tie it off with a bite like that, and that's the main knot, and then we'll put a backup in. Some people seem to think you need a backup for the backup for the backup, but I'm not sure that you do. I've just always done it just with a couple of bites like that, and it's never come undone. So that's that. And then what you do is you'd have yourself on this other one here. So attached with some sort of cow's tail. I think we're all to keep ourselves safe there.
Don't turn your back.
And then using our safety rope here. So the spare rope, when you're rigging, it's always good to try and put it in a nice neat heap out of the way. So there's all the spare rope off over there. It is good to keep it tidy. Similarly with the rest of the rope here, having that in a nice neat heap so that if you need it later on, it will be there for you. So this rope, just so that you can see clearly that one's the one for abseiling. I've got a figure of 8 on that one. And then this one's going to be the one to use as a safety rope. Okay. So this is a dynamic rope, much softer, more bondy. And then we tie the client on. Now, how you attach the client is really personal preference. I don't think it matters too much. I'd say, generally speaking, I'd tie a figure of 8 on the bite, and then pull that all nice and tight. Now, here particularly, I don't bother using a stopper knot. Now, I've got a reason for doing that, so I pull it all nice and tight there. 1, 2, 3, 4, so the knot's all nice and tight. And I probably wouldn't bother putting a stopper knot as long as it's got a reasonable tail on it. The reason is that when this knot goes up and down the crag all the time, when you're running an abseil session, then it tends to just come undone anyway. So, and then that freaks out people. So I just don't bother putting it on, and then it doesn't fall undone. So that would just be clipped on to the client using a screw gate there. And again, we'd use an Italian hitch here, and we just do up those crabs, make sure everything's done up, and we would clip that onto the harness of the client and clip that on as well. When you're clipping it in, I'll just show it on me. I'll come off here a sec because that'll make it a bit clearer. Just take my safety off there. So when I'm clipping it on here, I find it's a little bit better to have this one coming up there. So I tend to put the abseil device on the lower side and the safety rope on the upper side, so it just keeps them nice and clean. And then if you have to swap over, like take over there, you know, because they've lost control or they've got the hair stuck in the device or hand stuck or something's gone wrong, then that's sort of nice and clean and easy to use. So that's good. So the good things about this particular system then are that it's super simple. It doesn't use much rope. and it's really easy to rig. So I do use this, and I do use this fairly often. There's a couple of things I don't particularly like about it. One is I'm not overly keen on using the hitch here, because if I'm particularly a lighter person, this has so much residual friction actually in the hitch that this person isn't in effect abseiling, they're just being lowered on the hitch. So I prefer not to use that there if I can, because my aim, I suppose it depends what your aim of the session is, but my aim is nearly always to help them to learn to abseil, and the next time they do it they won't have a safety rope, so I want them to learn how it feels for themselves. So I've got a slightly different way of rigging it, which I could show you now, and I'll hopefully you'll be able to see the difference. But I'm not against this. I think it works well. It's very efficient, but it just has that as a bit of a problem. The other thing is that when the rope's running down over the crag, the ropes run inevitably, because they're fixed at exactly the same point, they run in exactly the same line, or pretty much exactly the same line, and so you can end up with this rope which is moving over that rope, particularly if you've got a bit of a groove where the rope goes over the edge of the crag. So I prefer this other method, so I'm going to show you that, but this is the industry standard. It works very well. Some people might tie a bunny's ears knot here instead, but basically that's exactly the same. It works just the same. So I find that a little bit easier, quicker to tie and to adjust. So that's there. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a little bit of an alternative system to the one I've just shown you, which is a good system, very efficient, and like I said, there's just a couple of small drawbacks with it. So this one I can measure, pretty much guess. That'll be where I want the rope for the anchor for one part of it. So this would then be for my abseil rope. So I'll put that on there. Okay. So the abseil ropes down the crag, remembering trying to just have it just off the floor there if I can. And again, I'll show you tying that off. That's all exactly the same. Round through there. A nice long bite. Round through there. Do that up. Okay, so that will be your abseil rope. Now you can rig that a little bit higher or a little bit lower, just depending on where you want to set off from. And then this one's going to be for my safety rope. So I need another crab into here. So that one can come back into there. And now I'm going to use pretty much the same running loop here. And then I can decide how long I want this one and adjust it up nice and easy. So I tie exactly the same knot as I used before. But this is going to be, for me, for my safety. Okay. So there I am. And now I can clip that in, either clip it into myself or clip in with a cow's tail like I did before. So there's that. Just tidy it up a bit. It'd be under tension so it would stay done up. So that's how that should look, pretty tidy and tight. Abseil ropes tend to be pretty stiff. So there you go. So you can see that I've got two different loops, so I can very easily position myself a little bit further down if I wanted, or a little bit further up if I wanted. I can put the abseil takeoff point just where I want it to be in relationship to this. So it's used more rope, so it's less efficient on rope. So that might be a really good reason for using the other one. If I want to adjust that, I can move it down a little bit, or up, you know, just to suit wherever I am. And put that in there. So that's my safety. I'm clipped on. Maybe I can see over the edge, and you can see that I can then clip them so that they're on slightly different lines, so that my rope, my safety rope, is going to be less likely to snag or run over the abseil rope there. So then I put the abseil rope, so here it is,
Safety.
so clipped onto my client there. So put the figure of 8 on there. You can see that the client can be on up there a little bit. I can clip in the safety rope there, and then and this gives me the option as well of running my safety rope off of a belay plate. So, and I'll just explain why I slightly prefer that now. What happens when you're abseiling? So that'll be clipped onto the client, just the same, exactly the same as we had before. The only difference is that because if I hold that open, there's very little residual friction, so the client's in control of their own descent until I want them not to be. So I can very quickly lock that off. So I'm clipped into here, I'm standing here, and I can stand maybe close to the edge and watch them go down. I can be next to them as they're going over the edge and give them a bit of reassurance. And I can control that. And then obviously if I need to escape the system, then all I have to do is tie that off, which I can do just like that, which is very similar to the way we tied off the plate there. And then I could just reach over here, and if I needed to, even under load, this will untie nice and easy, because that's how it's set up. It just pulls through and releases. And then just to show you how this would then release if it was under load. So there it is under load, and you can see it's like super locked off. It's gone all the way around, and I just take that off of there, take it off of there, and you can see it's still really locked. So I'm just going to have to, can you hold that? And then just bring your hand back through there, and that will release it. Okay? So the advantages, I think, of my system is that you can see one line is separate from the other. It is slightly more complicated, but I think it gives some benefits in certain situations. So there's two different ways to do it. Okay.